Let me just firstly introduce myself. My name is Ze Yuan Fu. I'm a graduate from Marinopolis, currently sitting at McGill.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for me before we start?
No, not really, but I've heard of you in the literature club
Really?
server. Yeah, you're
You
like,
active on the Lit Club server?
no, not really, but because there's so many messages. But yeah, I definitely identify myself as in like the weeb community.
Mhm. It's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. Aside that, there's nothing else before we start.
Um, not really, I guess.
Okay. Okay, we're recording. We are recording. Okay. So, hi, Linda. Welcome to the interview for the coordinator elections. Let's start with something. Let's start with some easy questions, shall we? Firstly, what is motivating you to run for your position?
So of course, with the online setting, everyone was kind of separated, and me as being in arts and sciences, I had the opportunity to like connect with my peers because we're a rather small program. But I know in some of my other friends in other programs, they had some moments where they were kind of alone, and when they finally got to know a few friends, well, that's like they stayed with that group of friends, right? So all our programs are kind of a little bit divided because partially because of the online setting. And I think like next semester, fall, if we do go back to campus, I think it's a wonderful opportunity to actually bring all these small groups together and like bring our Marinopolis community together. And yeah, because Marinopolis has like such an enriched student life and like everyone is very driven and involved and active. So I think just like bringing everyone together, like giving them an opportunity with activities to connect and like make new friends or make potential like business partners. Yeah, I think that's what's driving me.
It's very interesting. Tell me about what sets you apart from the other candidates that's running for the same position.
So I think my campaign is all about just showing my ideas to others, but also asking for their opinion because, of course, in the end, the activities are for is for the whole school and not just like for a few people. I want to be able to organize events where everyone will be interested in participating. And I think what also my ideas, they're not a lot compared to the other candidates. It's because I want to make sure it's also my first time on campus. I want to make sure that like I can actually make those events that I propose in my campaign actually happen because like there's nothing more disappointing than like empty promises made by like a candidate, right? So yeah, that's why I don't have many ideas, but they're actually more thought out. I really thought about it. I also talked to Trudy from Student Services to like check about the feasibility, and yeah, and she was pretty favorable towards my ideas. So yeah, I
Great,
think
great. That sounds really great. What do you think is the most challenging aspect of the position you're running for, and what will you do to overcome this issue?
I think it's probably managing my time. I think it's this position, especially on campus, requires a lot of work and time and energy. But definitely, from my past experiences, I've always been very much engaged in different activities, and I've always, throughout high school, been in volleyball clubs, which took a lot of my time, as in like it's a sport that takes time and practice. So from that, I gained some experience to manage my time, and also in arts and sciences, we have quite a course, a workload in all our courses. So I have some experience managing my time, and I think I'll be able to overcome that if I do get elected. I'll probably diminish a little bit my involvement in other clubs to focus on this position, the mandates that a coordinator of social activities has, because it would be like my primary role in terms of like student involvement.
And how much do you think you'll diminish your involvement in other clubs by? Like, what amount would you say? What you think is
Um,
appropriate?
so I actually, with a few other people, we founded a club this year, and so
What
we're
club is it?
currently, it's a study sheep. I don't know if
And
you've heard of it.
what do you do?
We hold study sessions, and we also have like some fun activities, which like ranting sessions, or we held recently like a study raffle where people could get prizes, and also we called it midterms in a pod. So we did podcasts, but like kind of like reviewing a subject, for example, mechanics, biology.
That sounds very fun. Do carry on.
Yeah, and so of course this club, I don't want to let it go. It's like part of it's part a big part of my student involvement. But some other clubs like I currently I'm thinking about the culinary club, which I am in, and we haven't had many activities this semester. So um, and also other clubs where I'm not as involved, or like I don't play as big of a role as, like, for example, study sheet, where I'm actually an executive. um, I would uh, I would maybe just retire myself from the club or a few activities.
That's a good mindset. What do you think you will need to accomplish for the student body for you to have had a successful term, according to yourself?
Um, I think so. Like the ideas I have campaigned for, and also some other ideas that people must have, like some people out there in our student union must have like a few activity ideas that they want to make happen. So for me, it's really just making these activities happen and like have people enjoy them. And I plan on having maybe a survey given out maybe at the end of third semester or my first semester, and uh, just like get some feedback on how I did. And if people are happy and satisfied, that's enough for me.
And how will you encourage people to actually answer these surveys? Because in my time at Mary, I've seen some like lots of surveys about various things being sent to the Facebook group, sent on pretty much all the platforms, but a lot of them have don't really get any answers. How will you ensure that your surveys get the answers that you're looking for?
So I'm not sure if it's possible, but I would like to integrate the survey in on Omnivox, because that's all, like there's always that annoying notification when you have a survey, and people tend to complete it because either it's mandatory or it's, yeah. And um, if that's not possible, I'm thinking maybe joining my survey in the student advocacies, the coordinator of student advocacy, when they will put out their survey, maybe add in some of the social activities components in there so that people can like just answer it at the same time. Um, yeah, that's just because people tend to pay more attention, I think, to student advocacy because it's like about their concerns. It's about representing them to the administration at school. So yeah.
A very good idea. One of the qualities of a good coordinator is a strong vision for the future. What is your vision for the future of the MSU in 5 years, and what will you do to make sure that this vision becomes reality?
I do you mean the vision in general?
Just a vision in general, yeah. Unless you have
Like
a
for the whole student
for
body.
the whole student
Okay.
union, unless you have a more specific one that you'd like to share.
Uh yeah, so Congress, I think right now, from last 2 weeks, presidential debate, I feel like there's a lot of people who felt like they weren't represented enough, or they weren't, the communication was kind of lacking with Congress, because like maybe some Congress members took some time to respond. I think in 5 years, it'd be nice if Congress was like a student body that people can really rely and easily communicate with, and a student body that can like satisfy at least a majority of Marinopolis, and like people graduating from Marinopolis thinking like, oh yeah, those who are in Congress did a very good job representing me. organizing activities, making our student life enriching, and yeah, representing us to as a school.
And what I'm sorry if I didn't catch it, but what will you do to make sure that this vision becomes reality? Like, what will you do concretely?
Oh, again in 5 years.
Again, for the same question, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So as a coordinator of social activities, and I think like after like having hosted, not hosted, like organized activities, events, and like gaining some experience, I think it's useful to like like pass the baton to like the next person. And I think it's important to, on my part, I would always be a resource to them, to like as a guide. Even as an alumni, I would be there, like maybe just be available to them, maybe post in the MSU Facebook group and be available to them, telling them like, I can be a resource if you need help in anything.
That's very noble. Yeah, you mentioned some issues about Congress, and I wanted to ask you about something related to that. So recently, there has been some controversy regarding Congress's egregious unresponsiveness, despite claims of accessibility and transparency. While you, on the other hand, you're promising to make everyone's voice heard, essentially. So what will you do to make sure that your promise is fulfilled and not unfulfilled? Let's say, like what Congress might be experiencing right now. What will you do?
So for me, as a coordinator of social activities, for me, like my mandate, it's important to create like social activities where people can feel like they belong and connect with one another. I think being represented as like to the school, that's the student coordinator of student advocacy's job, but definitely Congress as a team, that's also our job. And I think, wait, hold on, can you re-specify the question?
So recently, there has been some controversy regarding Congress's egregious unresponsiveness, despite claims of accessibility and transparency. Now, you, on the other hand, you promised to essentially try to hear every voice that wants to be heard.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering what you would do to make good on that promise.
Yeah, so I personally am generally a person who answers quite quickly and on Messenger. So definitely anyone who reaches out to me, I can answer them. And I think just showing Congress as a team, showing that you actually respond quicker. Maybe just emphasizing in meetings that it's also important to respond to student concerns, maybe within like a limit of 1 to 2 days. Like students experience at some point, they will have realized that, okay, Congress actually answers well and they answer quickly. So that's about, yeah, that's that.
Interesting. Do you have any plans to establish additional channels of communication aside from Messenger or Facebook, so that
Not
more
yet,
people can reach you?
not yet, because I think establishing like a new channel is also distracting people from the channels that already exist, especially Messenger. Like a lot of people are on Messenger. I'm also available on Discord. So like anyone who's like can use Discord. And also Mayo is like the most direct way and easiest way to get to a Congress member. But definitely if another Congress member has this initiative and thinks and has thought this through and is able to convince us that this new communication channel will work, then definitely that I would also collaborate in helping making that happen. And I also think Omnivox communities is coming, and I think that's also a new way to communicate with people, so that might help.
One last thing about Congress, actually. Do you have any words for the current members of Congress, like as a candidate for the position of coordinator? Do you have any words to um, those who are currently in Congress right now?
Yeah, so I think Congress, everyone is must be very busy, and but I think they're working hard. I can see a lot of work done, especially from the coordinators of cultural affairs, uh, charities and volunteering, and external affairs. and also social activities because I'm also in the social activity committee. Um, and also actually the second year positions, they are less visible as in like activities because they like their mandate is not to organize activities, it's to represent and voice student concerns and make Congress running and all that stuff, right? So it's not as visible, but I know I can see like they post stuff about like what they do and they have like their regular Congress meetings. I think that's very commendable of their hard work. I have heard about the issue about the website not being updated about the minutes or such matters. And I think that it might be a good idea to work on that and make students trust Congress more because that is kind of like an issue that was raised last 2 weeks.
Okay. So that's it about Congress for now. Earlier you mentioned a possible transition back to campus, right? And I noticed that in your campaign, there's a significant portion of it dedicated to Moose Camp. So I was wondering, firstly, if you could explain it for those who don't know what it is, and secondly, I was wondering how you would go about to bring that back, since it's been gone for a year or two now, I think at least.
Oh, really? Because I think last semester, when we were still unsure about whether it would be online or on campus, there was like the idea of Moose Camp kind of floating around.
Was it implemented?
No, because we had to stay at home because of COVID and we couldn't go.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
But
so I was wondering how you would bring
yeah,
that back concretely.
yes. So I talked to student services about this, and I seen from last semester how many people were a little disappointed because Moose Camp couldn't take place. Of course, it's no one's fault except the pandemic. And yes, I think if we're able to go back to campus, definitely there's still kind of like the component of like everyone has to kind of be wary, wear masks, and possibly if um, the situation is not as good in terms of like safety outside, I'm thinking about maybe um, modifying Moose Camp, as in letting students go in waves to enjoy, because Moose Camp essentially is like an opportunity for students to bond together, and it's kind of an activity where people get to like enjoy barbecue, a breakfast, maybe a movie outside at night, and also I think just spending a night at the college like with friends, it's always like very exciting. um yeah, so if the situation is not optimal but we're still able to hold it, I would still like to hold it, because if student interest is high, it would probably be like in waves, kind of like the welcome events that we had last semester, and maybe activities would be reduced, as in maybe there wouldn't be a spending a night outside because that's a little risky, or those spending a night outside maybe would need to do something extra, maybe pay like an extra dollar or two in that sense. But I know people are really fond of like food, barbecue, so that would definitely be part of it. And activities, there could be a movie, there could be various activities, like a treasure hunt. I think people liked it at the welcome event. And I was also thinking a big um, human-sized uh, what is it called? In French, it's called jeu de société.
Oh, so just like
Like
multiplayer games in general.
yeah, multiplayer games, but yeah, like physical multiplayer games,
Yeah,
not in
yeah.
Monopoly where you have like those little,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but like it's you, like those are pretty fun. I've experienced it at my high school, and it
They
was
are.
very interesting.
They are. They are. So on the subject of the transition back to in-person school, I know it's not your mandate as the coordinator of social activities, but is there anything else you would like to do to help ease the transition back to in-person school for the student body?
I think definitely the coordinator of student advocacy is always there, and Congress in general actually is always there advocating for mental health and like to ensure a smooth transition I think it's like hosting, organizing activities always like makes people bond together. So that's part of my mandate, and it would also help in transitioning to like an on campus setting. In terms of like schoolwork and changes, that's something everyone has to adapt to. And I think Congress as a team, and especially I think it's student coordinator or student advocacy, like they have some, I'm sure they have some initiatives planned to ease the process, maybe like some mental health workshops or like some academic workshops with the academic advisors in like managing schoolwork and such. And I would definitely help in that those initiatives, those activities.
That's very good to hear. So I noticed in your campaign you had an idea for a thrift shop, right? However, the idea of a thrift shop both at school and online has been done several times in the past. In the past, sorry about that. For example, this past semester, I think the Global Brigades did it, and in past semesters when school was actually in person, it was also a thing. So, what sets your thrift shop project apart from what has already been done in the past?
So you're talking about the on-campus one, right?
Sorry?
Because I have like I have like a thrift shop project where I have like the on campus and I prepared an online version.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there has been on-campus thrift shop events in the past. So what sets your project apart from those?
Okay. So um per se my event is not a thrift shop. It's like what I'm envisioning is a lot of tables set up and people bringing clothes and like what their things and everything to like sell or trade. And of course, like I'm sure people have accumulated a lot of stuff during quarantine. There was like, it's been a year, right? There's been like a lot of trends on TikTok, like social media, and people bought stuff for those kind of things. But like now, it doesn't necessarily serve anymore because it's it's out of trend or you don't really need it. Like it's just kind of useless, and you don't want to keep it in the back of your closet. So that's like an opportunity for people to kind of get rid of all that clutter. And also, I'm thinking of donating what's left to charities because it's always there's always bound to have some stuff left after like a whole day or like a good 2 days of like thrift shopping and kind of like a flea market. Also, I'm thinking about making it a theme. I know like Smurfs, they like to like trade stuff, and they're like all very friendly. So it would be a nice variation, I would say. I know the current coordinator of social justice is pushing for a thrift shop initiative, but since my activity idea is more of an event happening over 1 day or 2 days, it could be a first trial to whether the actual permanent thrift shop initiative would work or not. So yeah,
So it's more like a thing to make friends.
also in that sense, yes.
Well, that's very interesting. After that, you also have an initiative for Friday night tournaments. However, the Marinopolis College already has a thriving gaming club dedicated to connecting gamers to each other, and also frequently runs tournaments of varying types. For example, League of Legends, Valorant, Among Us, chess. I think there was one. Will you be working with them to run your game tournaments, or do you have another idea to implement your initiative to go like sort of side by side?
Right. So I do have that game tournament idea, but I don't think I've released it yet. So I find that a little. Oh, did
It's
you
on
look at
your
my
PowerPoint.
platform? Okay,
Yes.
yes, that's why. I was like, how did he know? Okay, yes. Yeah. So for that online game tournament, I'm aware. I saw the Valorant, I think it was,
Mhm.
tournament that was hosted last semester. Definitely, like the activities I'm suggesting, like proposing, it's always I always welcome collaborations because like more help is good, and also it just helps us reach out to more people to yeah, and get the information across. And since the gaming club has experience in hosting that online tournament, I think it was pretty successful last time. I'm just proposing that to redo this kind of activity. It's not necessarily new, but I think what students need is not necessarily something new, but something that would interest them and something that they would like to do again.
That's very interesting. Last but not least, I have just one last question for you. If a student asked you for advice on how to best contribute to Marinopolis, to the Marinopolis community, what would you tell them?
I think I would tell them to really try to step out of their comfort zone. I know it's hard, but it's if they want to get involved, that's already a first step. They have intention. And I think the best way is to participate in any activities that Marinopolis has to offer, especially clubs. We have so many clubs. I think we have like more than all the other English Anglophone cities combined, and that's a really something unique to Marinopolis. Just figure out their interest and sign up for as many clubs as they can, as they want, that would interest them. And it's clubs are non-binding, right? So it's not always something. If they do find out, oh, this club is not for me, they can remove themselves from the club, or they can maybe occasionally participate in that club's activities. And of course, if they think like, oh, clubs are really fun, I'm really involved, I'm really into it, they can always if they want to do more, they can always apply for an executive position, because those people are those who kind of more lead and steer the club's direction. And I think also a good way to get involved, of course, is applying to Congress, because as a student body, you represent the students, but you also organize activities and events for them. So it's like serving it's one of the good ways to serve the student community. Other than that, like also taking certificates. I'm not taking one, but I believe that there's definitely you'll definitely meet more people in taking a certificate. So that's a way to get involved. And any kind of project initiative, like Marinopolis is so open to that, and we have like the innovation hub available, which I think can give financial support to initiatives. Any project that they think, or any idea that they think it's worth developing and presenting to students, and even outside of the Marinopolis community, they should definitely step out of their comfort zone and go for it. And Marinopolis has many resources. If they don't know where to reach out to, it's always best to ask a Congress member or ask Trudy, Vero, or Adam. They're there for us.
Those are very wise words. I couldn't have said better. I know I said one last question, but I just had one last
Yeah,
thing. I
of
promise.
course, sure. Go ahead.
Would you have anything to say to the viewers who are watching this interview right now? Whether it be to plug your campaign, whether it be anything. Do you have anything to say to the people watching?
Yeah. So so first, please, if you have 2 minutes, just go read my platform or read the posts that I post. You don't even need to read the description that I write. It's like a lot of blah blah. The essential information is on the poster. And also, if you're interested, maybe share it around. And as your coordinator of social activities, what matters to me is that your ideas can come to life, that your opinions are like, I will hear your opinions and we can work on that. If you want to have an event happen, we can work on that. I'm very available. And also, although my ideas are not necessarily new or novel ideas compared to what's done in the past, I really want to know, really want to make events real that happen, events that you're interested in, that you would want to participate in. And yeah, please answer my future student surveys if that happens. Yeah.
Great. I think that's all I have for today. I thank you for coming to speak with me today.
Yeah, thank you for interviewing me. Very interesting
Thank you.
questions.